Hello, I'm Isabella, and I'm excited to guide you through Leonard Del Rey, The Secret Life of a Sci-Fi Legend. Leonard Knapp, June 2, 1915 – May 10, 1993, best known by his primary pseudonym, Leonard Del Rey, was an American science fiction author and editor. He was the author of many books in the juvenile Winston Science Fiction series, and the fantasy editor at Rey Books, the fantasy and science fiction imprint of Ballantine Books, subsequently Random House, working for his fourth wife Judy-Lynn del Rey. Leonard Del Rey, a man shrouded in mystery, began his life under a different identity. Del Rey often told people that his real name was Ramon Felipe Alvarez del Rey, and sometimes facetiously even Ramon Felipe San Juan Mario Silvio Enrico Smith Harcourt Brace Sierra y Alvarez del Rey y de los Verdes. However, his sister has confirmed that his name was in fact Leonard Knapp. He also claimed that his family was killed in a car accident in 1935. In reality, the accident only killed his first wife. Leonard Del Rey, a towering figure in science fiction, began his remarkable journey with a passion for storytelling. Del Rey first started publishing stories in pulp magazines in the late 1930s. At the dawn of the so-called golden age of science fiction, he was associated with the most prestigious science fiction magazine of the era, Astounding Science Fiction, from the time its editor John W. Campbell published his first short story in the April 1938 issue, The Faithful, already under the name Leonard Del Rey. The December 1938 issue featured his story, Helen O'Loy, which was selected for the prestigious anthology The Science Fiction Hall of Fame. By the end of 1939, he had also placed stories in Weird Tales, edited by Farnsworth Wright and Unknown Campbell, which featured more horror and more fantasy respectively. During a period when Del Rey's work was not selling well, he worked as a short-order cook at the White Tower restaurant in New York. After he married his second wife, Helen Schlaz, in 1945, he quit that job to write full-time. In 1952, his first 3 novels were published in the Winston Juvenile series, one of which, Rocket Jockey, appearing in an Italian-language edition in the same year. In the 1950s, Del Rey was one of the main authors writing science fiction for adolescents, along with Robert A. Heinlein and Andre Norton. During this time, some of his fiction was published under multiple pseudonyms, including Philip Street John and Eric Van Lin. He continued publishing novels, as well as short fiction, both under his primary pseudonym Leonard Del Rey, as well as a number of other pen names, at a fast pace through the 1950s and the early 60s. His novel writing slowed down toward the end of the 60s, with his last novel, Weeping Maytari, written with Raymond Fahrenheit Jones, appearing from Pinnacle Books in 1978. Leonard Del Rey's early life and influences shaped his unique storytelling vision. After meeting Scott Meredith at the 1947 World Science Fiction Convention, he began working as a first reader for the new Scott Meredith Literary Agency, where he also served as office manager. He later became an editor for several pulp magazines, and then for book publishers. During 1952 and 1953, Del Rey edited several magazines: Space SF Fantasy Fiction, Science Fiction Adventures as Philip Street John, Rocket Stories as Wade Kempfert, and Fantasy Fiction as Cameron Hall. During this period, he also edited several anthologies, notably editing the Best Science Fiction Stories of the Year series from 1972 to 1976. Del Rey was most successful editing with his fourth wife, Judy-Lynn del Rey, at Ballantine Books, as a Random House property, post-Ballantine, where they established the fantasy and science fiction imprint Rey Books in 1977. He retired from the publishing house in February 1992. In 1957, Del Rey and Damon Knight co-edited a small amateur magazine named Science Fiction Forum. During a debate about symbolism within the magazine, Del Rey accepted Knight's challenge to write an analysis of the James Blish story, Common Time, that showed the story was about a man eating a ham sandwich. After science fiction gained respectability and began to be taught in classrooms, Del Rey stated that academics interested in the genre should get out of my ghetto. Del Rey said that to develop, science fiction had to remove itself from the usual critics who viewed it from the perspective of mainstream, and who judged its worth largely on its mainstream values. As part of that mainstream, it would never have had the freedom to make the choices it did, many of them quite possibly wrong, but necessary for its development. Starting in September 1969, he wrote the Reading Room review column for IF, and following the demise of IF in 1974, switched to writing the review column for Analog Science Fiction and Fact titled The Reference Library. Del Rey was a member of a literary banqueting club, the Trapdoor Spiders, which served as the basis of Isaac Asimov's fictional group of mystery solvers, the Black Widowers. Del Rey was the model for Emmanuel Rubin. Lester Del Rey's prolific career and enigmatic personality captivated readers for decades, and now we'll explore his untimely death. Lester Del Rey died on May 10, 1993, at New York Hospital at the age of 77 after a brief illness. Lester Del Rey's early life shaped his unique approach to storytelling, and now let's explore his distinctive style. There is no writer in this field who is more steadfast in practicing the rule that fiction is first of all entertainment, Algis Budrys said in 1965, reporting that the stories in a collection of Del Rey's fiction could not be dated by reading them. Budrys stated that he had remained a successful writer because Del Rey has remained his own individual. He writes for himself and his readers. Budrys said that Lester Del Rey's early life and career laid the foundation for his later, iconic works. Del Rey was awarded the 1972 East Smith Memorial Award for Imaginative Fiction, the Skylark, by the New England Science Fiction Association for contributing significantly to science fiction, both through work in the field and by exemplifying the personal qualities that made the late Doc Smith well loved by those who knew him. He also won a special 1985 Balrog Award for his contributions to fantasy, voted by fans and organized by Locus magazine. The Science Fiction Writers of America named him its 11th SFWA Grand Master in 1990, presented 1991. Lester Del Rey's enduring legacy began with a prolific and often overlooked body of work. Step to the Stars 1954, Mission to the Moon 1956, Moon of Mutiny 1961. Lester Del Rey, a prolific and enigmatic figure, crafted tales that explored the boundaries of human experience and the vastness of space. Marooned on Mars 1952, Rocket Jockey as Philip St. John 1952, A Pirate Flag for Monterey 1952, Attack from Atlantis 1953, Battle on Mercury as Eric Van Lin 1953, The Mysterious Planet as Kenneth Wright 1953, Rockets to Nowhere as Philip St. John 1954, For I Am a Jealous People 1954, Preferred Risk 1955, with Frederick Pole Nerves 1956, Police Your Planet as Eric Van Lin 1956, Day of the Giants 1959, The 11th Commandment 1962, Outpost of Jupiter 1963, The Sky is Falling 1963, Badge of Infamy 1963, A Peace Stalemate/Sigh 1971, Weeping Maytari 1978 with Raymond Fahrenheit Jones. Lester Del Rey's journey into science fiction began with a surprising early career in pulp magazines. Collaborations with Paul W. Feyerman. These 7 novels were ghostwritten by Feyerman based on outlines by Del Rey, and published as by Del Rey. The Runaway Robot 1965, The Infinite Worlds of Maybe 1966, Rocket from Infinity 1966, The Scheme of Things 1966, Siege Perilous 1966, Tunnel Through Time 1966, Prisoners of Space 1968. Lester Del Rey's early career was marked by a relentless pursuit of science fiction writing and editing, and Some Were Human 1948, Robots and Changelings 1957, The Sky is Falling and Badge of Infamy 1966, Mortals and Monsters 1965, Gods and Golems 1973, The Early Del Rey 1975, The Early Del Rey, Vol 1 1976, The Early Del Rey, Vol 2 1976, The Best of Lester Del Rey 1978, War and Space 2009, Robots and Magic 2010. Lester Del Rey's early life and influences shaped his extraordinary career, and now we'll delve into non-fiction. Rockets Through Space 1957, Spaceflight General Mills Inc. 1958-1957, Golden Press 1959, The Mysterious Earth 1960, The Mysterious Sea 1961, Rocks and What They Tell Us 1961, The Mysterious Sky 1964, The World of Science Fiction 1926-1976, The History of a Subculture 1980, The Year After Tomorrow with Carl Karma and Cecil Matchat 1954, Best Science Fiction of the Year No. 15, 1972-1976, Once Upon a Time, A Treasury of Modern Fairy Tales with Risa Kessler, 1991. Lester Del Rey's enigmatic past reveals a surprisingly complex and influential career in science fiction.